Hi, my name is Mr. C, and I am in charge of the science research program here with Mrs. Torregrosa. Welcome to the 2021 Science Symposium. Today, you'll get a chance to hear what our seniors have accomplished this past year with regard to their research. I hope you are as proud of them as we are.
Sahir Ahmed conducted research on the effects of pH on the germination/growth rates of rice seeds and whether seaweed would buffer these effects. Under the supervision of Jeffrey C. and Melissa Torregrosa, Sahir Ahmed completed his 2-year research and ultimately found that pH played a role in the growth and germination of rice seeds, in which the lower the pH, the slower the growth/germination rate is. However, seaweed is ineffective in buffering the effects pH has on the rice. This research and its results ultimately raised awareness of the problem of rapidly changing environmental problems such as acid rain and the plants living in the area. Long-term effects can include a shortened food supply for the human population, which can be devastating for many, especially if a popular food source such as rice is affected. Next year, Sahir is going on to study computer science at CCNY.
Hi, my name is Sahir Ahmed. My research is about the application of seaweed extract on pH effects on Oryza indica and Oryza glabrima germination and growth rates. So the increase in acid rain is posing as a huge problem to the environment surrounding the area. This problem is spread throughout the presence of fossil fuels such as sulfur and nitrogen oxides emitting into the natural atmosphere. Acid rain harms the germination and growth process of rice, which is an extremely vital food source for over 3.5 billion people. So previous research has shown that the Oryza indica is raised in domestic Asia, while the glabrima is raised in Africa. Compared to the glabrima, however, the indica is known to grow at a faster rate. When one is researching germination rate, one needs to keep seed dormancy in mind. Seed dormancy is an evolutionary adaptation that prevents seeds from germinating in unsustainable conditions. The two dormancy processes that the seeds will take on is physiological dormancy and physical dormancy. Physiological dormancy is where the growth of the embryo is prevented. Physical dormancy is when the seed shell is hard enough to prevent the seed from breaking through and sprouting. In both of these conditions, in order to break a seed dormancy, heat treatment is used. So, pollution in the air directly affects pH levels in soil and water alike. So, change in pH has a harmful element to the production of rice, unfortunately. Therefore, it would be very important to find an effective buffer to whatever the effect the pH has to the rice seeds, because it'll help us find an effective solution to boost the rice's survival within the environment. So, the questions we're trying to approach in the experiment is number one, how does different pH levels affect germination rate and growth rate? And two, would the application of seaweed buffer whatever effects pH has on the germination growth rate? Because seaweed provides a potential solution or a buffer, I should say. So seeds were separated into two groups based on seed types. They were each subjected to heat treatment to break the dormancies required to be broken. After that, each group were then divided into three different subgroups, as each group would grow under different pH levels, 2, 4, and 5. This will make 6 groups in total. The seeds were then washed with bleach and placed into a growth chamber for observation. Seeds were observed every 2 hours for germination and approximately every 24 hours for growth. So when administering the seaweed, in order to make the seaweed extract, 125 milligrams of water was blended with dry seaweed, and when making the pH solution, seaweed extract was mixed and soaked onto a tissue which was placed beneath the seeds. The graph you see here now shows the germination rate of Oryza indica under the 3 pH levels, with the leftmost one being a pH of 2 and the rightmost being 5. This shows that as the pH level gets more acidic, it takes much longer for the seeds to germinate. And the Glabrima shows a similar trend where the seeds take longer to germinate when the solution gets more acidic. Yes, you could more clearly see in the chart below as well. So the growth, now regarding growth rate, the seeds were measured at different stages. When the seeds reached 2 centimeters, 4, 6, 8, and 10 centimeters, the time it took post-planting the seeds were recorded. The growth rate was then calculated and was observed that the seeds raised under the pH of 5 had faster growth rate than pH of 2. Next is the graph, and the same was observed with the Glabrima. So now the next is the graph that covered the germination rate of the seeds that had the seaweed solution. For both indica and glabrima seeds, the slopes now show a significant difference from those raised without seaweed. The same trend was observed for growth rate, and it's more clear when you see the chart, like the difference between with seaweed and without seaweed. And the glabrima showed the same trend, and then you could see even here with seaweed, without seaweed, it was the exact same rate, which is crazy. And then these following graphs show the relationship between pH levels versus average germination rate between the indica and glabriuma, and kind of explains the preceding graphs below here, and it shows the error bars as well. So seaweed is ultimately not shown to effectively buffer the effect pH has on rice seeds, and Oryza indica is shown to have faster germination and growth rate when compared to Oryza glabriuma. It's important to look at what would be important to act as a buffer effect for the rice seed, and citrate item 2 do show promise according to other previous research. And some limitations were the projects conducted at home, so the seeds had a risk of facing extreme temperature and environment changes, and although seeds were observed every 2 to 5 hours, there were intervals of times where they were observed later. So there is a risk of inconsistency, and there's always human error. Thank you for listening.
Abdullah Ali has always been interested in creating sustainable materials for use in the construction industry. Thus, he conducted research on the flammability and water absorption of natural fibers reinforced green composites. All of his research was conducted at home, while under the supervision of Mr. C. Abdullah participated in the Long Island Science and Engineering Fair for the last 2 years and was awarded 3rd place in the Material Science category, along with the Most Outstanding Exhibit in Material Science Award from the ASM Material Education Foundation. Next year, Abdullah plans on continuing his research at the University of Southern California and majoring in biochemistry.
Hi, my name is Abdullah Ali, and for my research project, I decided to study the variation of fibers to create viable green composites. Now, when discussing sustainability, a lot of people tend to leave out the construction industry. However, it is one of the leading users of non-renewable resources in the world today, as in 2013, around 530 million tons of construction waste was accounted for in the US, and globally in the UK and China, construction waste comprised 25 to 30 and around 33% of total waste, respectively. An initial solution to the problem was the development of biocomposites, which combine natural fibers plus non-renewable plastics. And although they have been integrated into the biomedical, automotive, and aerospace industries, they lack the biodegradability which is present in green composites, which is exactly what it sounds like, a totally green material comprised of a natural fiber and bioplastic, which can be fully biodegradable when exposed to certain conditions. However, as good as that may seem, a major hindrance in the widespread use of green composites is a lack of testing on flammability and water absorbency. So I conducted a previous experiment where I took 20% banana fibers and added them to 3 bioplastics plus a polypropylene non-renewable control and subjected them to flammability and water absorbency tests. And what I found was that the banana fibers 20% combined with polylactic acid had actually outperformed the rest of the groups. Thus, in this project, I decided to continue to use the banana fibers with the polylactic acid in addition to hemp and flax fibers, which are 2 of the most researched fibers in this field and boast many great properties such as thermal and structural integrity, to see which ones would be the most suitable for integration into the construction industry. Now, at first, I was melted the plastics and put 10, 20, 30% fibers for each of the 3 groups to make 9 different groups. Now, when creating the composites, there were 2 different sizes. So for the flammability, the samples measured 70 by 10 by 2 millimeters, and for the water absorbency, the samples measured 20 by 20 by 2 millimeters. And there were 5 samples of each, so in total there were 10 samples for each of the 9 groups. So for flammability, the samples were exposed to a flame for 20 seconds in 3 different trials. So the sample was lit with fire and then taken off, and it was the time recorded to see how long it would take for the flame to extinguish was then calculated. And for water absorbency tests, the samples were submerged in water for 24 hours, taken out, and weighed again to calculate the increase in mass from the initial before submerging them. So in flammability, a general trend that can be seen is that as the fiber content increases, so does the flammability. So a two-way ANOVA was conducted to see if there was any variation between the groups, and as you can see, there was, with the p-value less than 0.05. So subsequently, one-way ANOVAs were conducted to see if within each individual group if there's any variation. So only banana showed statistical significance by having that p-value less than 0.05. However, the hemp and flax did approach significance as well. And a Tukey HSD test revealed that within each group, the 10% performed better than the 20 and 30%. So another one-way ANOVA was conducted, but only with the 10% groups. And although it didn't reach statistical significance, a Tukey HSD test revealed that the banana and hemp performed significantly better than the flax composites, and with hemp slightly edging out banana in this aspect. So for water absorbency, the same general trend can be seen as the weight fiber content increases, so does the absorbance of water. And a two-way ANOVA was conducted to see if there's any variation. However, there was no variation found. And again, with the one-way ANOVAs, the same thing applied, as there was no variation seen, as no p-value went under 0.05%. However, A 2-KHC test revealed that no group performed significantly better than the other. However, it should be noted that all of the samples had only absorbed less than 10% of the total weight, and since some of these fibers can absorb twice their weight, these are still novel results in that all fibers did perform well. However, banana 10% absorbed the least with only a 1% increase in weight. So overall, the banana 10% composites had outperformed the flax and hemp composites in both tests. And this result was not really expected due to the sheer amount of research on hemp and flax fibers and their versatility in various industries. However, the lower amount of cellulose present in the banana fibers could be a reason for their superior performance, as the compound's nature is highly flammable and water absorbent. And since flax and hemp had more cellulose, it could be a reason as to why they performed worse. So this study had initially shown promising results in the search for viable alternatives to synthetic fiber reinforced composites through the success of both banana 10% in the flammability and water absorbency tests. And for future research, it will be recommended to vary the fiber percentages, maybe in increments of 5 up to 50 even, and compare a multitude of natural fibers in a single study. And also, some limitations include the fact that chemical and tensile strain tests were not conducted, and the cost efficiency of switching from regular to green composites was not evaluated as well. However, if the economics of scale were applied, we could potentially lower the price of green composites to make it more affordable for people all over the world. Thank you.
Sreeya Bobby carried out her social science research at school under the guidance of Mr. Jeffrey C., a Valley Stream South High School research teacher. In the summer of 2019, Sreeya conducted a study to determine if sleep restriction led to an increased production of false memories. The results of the test showed that sleep-restricted group was associated with a significantly higher percentage of critical lures, which represent the formation of false memories. Her scientific paper was published in the Journal of Secondary Psychological Studies. This summer, Sreeya conducted a study focusing on the trends between social media platform usage and selective attention. She plans to continue her passage in human behavior through her major in neuroscience.
Good afternoon. My name is Sreeya Bobby, and my study is to determine the trends between technology users and selective attention. Selective attention is a process of directing our awareness to relevant stimuli while ignoring irrelevant stimuli in the environment. Today, social media is overloaded with tons of information feeds. Selective attention clearly portrays the scenario when using social media. This is because consumers share more than 600,000 pieces of content in every 60 seconds, therefore need to filter a mass amount of information. As technology advances, so has the usage of social media platforms. In fact, 1 out of 3 people in this world utilize social media. While social media enables people to connect, create, produce, and share with each other, many studies have linked a decrease in attention with the use of social media. There are various studies that have concluded that social media aids in attention, while others state it's detrimental. No studies have really focused on the different types of social media platform categories and its correlation with selective attention. The purpose of my study is to find if there is a correlation between different social media platform categories and selective attention of a high school-based population. The sample of the study consisted of a total of 32 teenagers spanning from the ages 15 to 18 years of age, or an average of 16.65. A widely known test was used to score selective attention, which is known as a Stroop test, which can be used to measure a person's selective attention capacity and skills, processing speed, and alongside other tests to evaluate overall executive processing abilities. Scores from the Stroop test were compared between heavy users of a specific platform to non-users, and a technology usage questionnaire was administered as well, which asked the usage of technology between each participant. As participants and the technology usage asked about each category, which includes social networking, which includes Facebook, geosocial, such as Snapchat, microblogs, such as Twitter, social bookmarking, such as Reddit, and last but not least, social knowledge, such as Wikipedia. As participants took a Stroop test, they were asked to type the color of the word shown on the screen. The score was calculated using the average time of the incorrect answers minus the average time of the correct answers, known as the error rate or the Stroop effect score. There was a significant difference in social networking, geosocial, and microblog platforms. The subject's attention scores and number of hours spent on each social media platform was analyzed using the Mann-Whitney U test. In the social networking platforms, those who barely used it had a bigger Stroop effect score, therefore had a better reaction time difference than those who didn't use it. Those who used Social networking platforms have benefits of a better selective attention compared to microblogs and geosocial platforms. When people log onto Facebook to socialize with friends, they are bombarded with banner advertisements. With numerous ads, people tend to focus on the necessary stimuli while ignoring distractors. Due to this practice in a multi-stimuli environment, subjects who use social networking accounts are more prone to have better selective attention. In the microblogs and geosocial platforms, those who had it had a smaller Stroop effect score, therefore had a worse response time difference than those who did not. According to past studies, Twitter, which is a form of a microblog, have been shown to decrease attention span due to the short, uncomplicated messages that consist of little detail. This may be the reason that participants who use microblogs had more difficulty ignoring unnecessary stimuli due to the lack of attention used throughout the Stroop test. In addition, posts that last only 10 seconds on Snapchat, a form of a geosocial platform, was also a factor. Due to the shortness, the need to pay attention to close details are necessary. This may be the reason why subjects who use geosocial accounts had a smaller Stroop effect score. This is supported by Julian Dibble's theory, which states that shorter messages lead subjects to have a less detailed thought process. There was no significant difference in social bookmarking and social knowledge platforms. There are a few limitations to this study. Firstly, the sample size was rather small, which may have potentially affected the results. In addition, the subjects were not randomly chosen, nor was the subject's working environment monitored. However, these can be remedied with the use of a cognition lab, which would strictly control the subject's environment. In addition, utilizing eye tracking sensor technology would precisely see what the subjects are prone to look at first. Also, many people may be undiagnosed with attention deficiency, so that may be a possible human error. Overall, the novel results of my study add to the growing body of research on selective attention and social media. Social media has tons of information, yet it is up to the person to select which information is the most important. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.
Justin Ocampo is a senior at South High School and has decided to research the impact of music on a person's cognitive ability and ambidexterity. The study was inspired by his experience and passion as a musician. As a musician, he wanted to combine his research with a hobby that he greatly enjoyed. After considering the time musicians put into practicing and how demanding it is on their finger dexterity and the usage of both hands, Justin was able to develop his question: to what extent does musical study impact a person's cognitive ability and ambidexterity? This was a culmination of 2 years of research, with the first year focusing on the impact of musical study and cognitive ability, and the second year focusing on the impact of sight reading on ambidexterity. For college, he will be attending Queens College, where he plans to continue studying science.
Hello, my name is Justin Ocampo, and I have decided to study the question: to what extent does musical study impact a person's cognitive ability and ambidexterity? Musical study has been proven to show many physical and mental benefits. Such findings have resulted in the implementation of musical study classes into schools. In addition to this, it has also been found that ambidexterity can in fact boost a worker's efficiency and can be seen in hospitals, factories, and other places where hands-on work is required. Finally, musical studies have been proven to increase finger dexterity as well. According to the article, Hand Skill Symmetry in Professional Musicians, it has been found that in terms of handedness, musicians who were able to score higher than those who were not musicians. Furthermore, in the article, How Should Ambidexterity Be Estimated?, they provide a definition for ambidexterity, stating that it is the systematic use of one hand for certain activities and the other hand for other activities, without any tendency to use one hand more than the other. Finally, another piece of information among the articles read is that string and keyboard instrument players show no difference in hand symmetry, indicating that the instrument played does not play a role in the development of hand symmetry. Upon reading multiple articles, a common variable was that they were all professional musicians. This was an important aspect to consider, as professional musicians spend a significantly more time playing and learning their instrument, as compared to a regular student. Another aspect is that in all these articles, they all use adults. This also shows a gap, as it does not consider the impact of musical study on teens. Finally, the study did not show a large range of participants, being that all the participants were either a string or keyboard player. The purpose of this experiment was to find a relationship between cognitive skills and sight reading ability, find a relationship between ambidexterity and sight reading ability, and to evaluate these results accordingly. For my methodology, I first sent out an email to 10 people who played various instruments. I emailed 3 string instrument players, 1 keyboard player, 2 percussion instrument players, 2 woodwinds, and 2 brass. This email contained the link to the site where I would conduct my test, as well as steps and instructions they would need to take. The participants were expected to complete variations of the task seen in the upper right-hand corner, which would test for proficiency in certain cognitive skills. This is to be done with both hands, recorded and sent back to me, giving me a value of 800 for the categories of hand-eye coordination, perception, memory, reasoning, and attention. Along with this, they were sent a level 3 sight reading piece. Sight reading is the name given to when a musician tries to play the piece for the first time without any prior knowledge of it, and evaluates their ability to intake and perform information given to them. This was recorded and given a score out of 10. The collected data was then evaluated by correlation, as the goal was to find a relationship between these two variables. After receiving the data, it has been found that a person's cognitive ability drops by a 47.17% when switching between their dominant hand to their non-dominant hand. It has also been found that with an average sight reading score to be a 5.3 out of 10, the average dominant hand score to be a 410.13 out of 800, and the average non-dominant hand score to be a 216.67 out of 800. After evaluating the data with a significance value of less than 0.05, the difference between the dominant and non-dominant hand cognitive ability and the sight reading scores has found to be statistically significant, with all categories having a result much lower than 0.05. The difference between the dominant hand and the non-dominant hand was found in order to get a value for ambidexterity. The end results of this showed that a higher sight reading score results in a stronger ambidexterity score. Another finding was that there was a correlation between a person's sight reading score and their cognitive ability. For a person's dominant and non-dominant hand, the data has shown a correlation between the cognitive scores and their sight reading scores, with an overwhelming majority being less than 0.05, showing that higher sight reading score may result in a higher ambidexterity score. The data relates to the previous research shown in hand skill asymmetry in professional musicians, as they also saw benefits of musical studies on a person's cognitive ability. Some limitations presented include a small sample size, as the experiment only included 9 participants. Furthermore, there was a difference in testing environments, as these tests were not performed in person, making it possible that everybody had a different testing environment. And finally, translating a common difficulty among different instruments was difficult, as each instrument is different. For future studies, it would be beneficial to evaluate the person's cognitive ability and ambidexterity for specific instruments and compare them to each other. Another aspect could be to find a relationship between difficulty and a piece played and a person's cognitive ability. And finally, another approach would be to evaluate the average time a person spent practicing and compare it to their cognitive ability.
Amrit Pabla was focused on studying non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, also known as NASH, a stage within non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, over the past 2 years at Angia and Biomedica under the guidance of Dr. Narayan. She focused on identifying Rho-associated coiled kinase 2, also known as ROCK2, as a genomic driver within non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. Ultimately, her research revealed a positive correlation between ROCK2 and fibrosis in NASH, which suggests that ROCK2 is a disease-associated node in NASH. She was published last year in the Journal of Diagnostics for her research with other students that focused on a new diagnostic measure for liver cancer. Next year, she will continue studying science by majoring in biology on a pre-med track.
My name is Amrit Pabla, and my project focuses on identifying Rho-associated coiled kinase 2 as a disease-associated node in non-alcoholic steatohepatitis with fibrosis. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD, is an umbrella term that describes multiple conditions characterized by the buildup of fat in the liver. The increase in obesity, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome have led to the growth of NAFLD in 34% of Americans. Researchers believe that this disease will affect over 64 million Americans and generate annual medical costs of a staggering $103 billion. Although hepatocellular carcinoma, or HCC, a very aggressive malignancy, usually develops at the end stage of liver disease, recent research has shown that HCC can actually develop directly from the non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, or NASH stage. Liver cancer is the third leading cause of cancer deaths in the world, with a low 5-year survival rate of only 10%. Given that approximately 30% of Americans already have some fat buildup, it is crucial to concentrate on preventing the onset of liver cancer. Rho-associated coiled kinase 1, ROCK1, and Rho-associated coiled kinase 2, ROCK2, are key proteins associated with an increase in fibrosis and inflammation in other fibrotic diseases. However, ROCK2 inhibition has shown more success as a treatment. And last year, my partner and I had confirmed that ROCK2 was a potential therapeutic target in NASH models that are created using toxins to accelerate the onset of the disease. Because we found promising ROCK2 results, I then wanted to see if these results will hold true in a NASH model induced by a fast food diet to actually represent how people develop NASH. Therefore, my current research aims to determine whether NASH models induced by a more natural fatty food diet would also have ROCK2 as a disease-associated node, as characterizing the role of ROCK2 could lead to the advancement of target therapies in fibrotic NASH. 24 C57 BL6 male mice have been previously fed either control diet or fast food diet, or FFD. They were sacrificed for another experiment, but I was then provided with liver tissue samples. Liver fibrosis levels were first confirmed through measuring biomarker levels and microscopy. Through the liver function test, these figures showed that there is a significant increase in hydroxyproline, a fibrotic biomarker linked with liver scarring, and high levels of AST and ALT, two liver enzymes linked with liver deterioration in the FFD tissue. The H&E staining was used to view the structure of the liver. While there are no signs of injury in the control tissue, the FFD tissue shows a significant amount of steatosis, as seen by the vast amount of white holes in the graph below that shows a significant increase in the percentage of steatosis in the FFD samples. Inflammation is also seen by the amount of foci, and ballooning is seen by the swelling of cells. The microscopy confirms NASH with all three key symptoms visually present in the FFD tissue, which was expected. I also use the NASH scoring system that gives a number from 0 to 8 to determine if NASH is present. There's a significant increase in the average NASH score in the FFD samples with a score of 6.51, which indicates a large NASH presence, compared to the control with a score of 1.26, which means no NASH presence. The PSR staining is used to visually confirm fibrosis. The FFD samples show numerous areas stained with red, which confirms large amounts of fibrosis, compared to the control that has almost no red staining. There's a significant increase in the area stained with PSR in the FFD, which suggests that specifically NASH with fibrosis developed instead of just NASH. Since the sample now successfully represented a healthy liver and a fibrotic NASH liver, it was possible to examine the mRNA expression of ROCK1 and ROCK2 through a qPCR. I then performed a correlation analysis to see if there's a correlation between ROCK2 or ROCK1 and hydroxyproline. We did not expect to see a significant increase in ROCK1 mRNA expression, which was found in the fibrotic NASH samples, compared to the control, which suggests that ROCK1 is not upregulated with the presence of liver damage. There is no correlation between the mRNA expression of ROCK1 and hydroxyproline, which shows that ROCK1 is likely not associated with the development of fibrosis, and it is not a genomic driver. There was a significant increase of ROCK2 expression in the experimental tissue compared to the control. The overexpression of ROCK2 in fibrotic NASH suggests that ROCK2 has some role in the increase in liver damage and fibrosis as the disease develops. There's a positive correlation between hydroxyproline and mRNA expression of ROCK2, as seen by the positive R-square value of 0.3437. This reveals that as ROCK2 expression increases in fibrotic NASH, the amount of fibrosis in the liver also increases, which leads to more damage that can further develop the disease. So it is likely that the ROCK2 gene is associated with driving the progression of fibrotic NASH due to its positive correlation with fibrosis and liver damage. The current research suggests that ROCK2 is likely a potential disease driver in NASH with fibrosis. ROCK2 expression positively correlates with fibrotic biomarkers in NASH with fibrosis. So ROCK2 plays a role in the development of fibrosis, and it is likely a genomic driver. Current medicine is moving towards precision medicine, which suggests that each person's disease is specific to their body. So unique medicine for each person that targets the genomic drivers of a disease like fibrotic NASH will be the most effective treatment. To target these drivers, we first need to identify them, like ROCK2, which was confirmed in my results. Then patients with higher levels of ROCK2 could receive treatments that target the ROCK2 node. NASH is rapidly developing in NFLD patients, and it is crucial to prevent the development of liver cancer. ROCK2 is a candidate for targeted therapies that can be beneficial to the 30 million Americans with NASH. A limitation of this study is a small sample size with only male tissue. Another limitation is that this study does not explicitly convey how ROCK2 contributes to fibrosis. Future studies will focus on developing targeted therapies for ROCK2 through ROCK2 inhibition. Patients with ROCK2 overexpression could benefit from ROCK2 inhibitor therapy that increases the chances of a patient responding to a treatment with minimal side effects. And these are my references. Thank you.
Ameena Qadri studied the effect of biodegradable materials such as orange peels and moringa seeds on the bioabsorption of water pollution for the past 2 years. She worked under the guidance of her science research advisors Jeffrey C. and Melissa Torregrosa. She found that using moringa seeds and orange peels were an effective method in purifying water to a drinking standard. She plans to continue studying in the science field as a part of the PharmD program at St. John's University.
Hi, my name is Ameena Qadri, and my project is about the bioabsorption of water pollutants by orange peel powder and moringa seed powder. 2.1 billion people still do not have access to safe drinking water. Almost 3.5 million people die every year due to the lack of safe drinking water. There are 4 major water pollutants that affect the drinking water quality. Those are pathogens like bacteria, inorganic compounds like zinc and ammonia, organic materials like soil and sediments, and macroscopic pollutants like paper and plastic. There are several different factors that go into making sure water reaches a clean drinking standard. Common methods in first world nations include chlorine iodine treatments and reverse osmosis. These make sense for first world developed nations because they are affordable in developed nations, but the average person uses 80 to 100 gallons of water a day, and that means that these treatments would cost close to $640 to $2,000 just for one person, and it's just not affordable for somebody living in a developing nation. Bioabsorbents like orange peels and moringa seeds have been used throughout several different countries and have been tested at many different aquatic standards and have shown positive outcomes. Two different bioabsorbents, along with another filtration method, however, have never been used together. The study used moringa seed powder and orange peel powder along with boiling the water first, and it showed that water was able to reach a clean drinking standard. And these specific bioabsorbents are also easily accessible because they are native plants that grow in several of the developing nations that don't have access to clean drinking water. The methodology in the study was that there were 3 groups, one with orange peel powder, one with moringa seed powder, and one with both powders. The groups with singular powders had 3.3 milliliters of pond water plus 0.8 grams of their respective powders added to 10 test tubes, while the group with both powders had the same amount of pond water, but with 0.4 grams of each powder added to each test tube. Then the test tubes were split in half, and half of them were boiled, and the other half were allowed to settle on their own and were tested for change in hardness, alkalinity, pH, color, turbidity, and bacteria every 4 hours for 48 hours. The results on the hardness showed that the group with orange peel powder and moringa seed powder that were boiled showed the most significant change and reached its level of hardness that it was supposed to reach, which was 200 parts per million. And hardness is something that's important to measure because it indicates that there is a healthy level of vitamins and minerals in the water, which people in developing nations need because they may not be getting those vitamins and minerals in their everyday diet. Alkalinity, the same group with both the powders and the boiled water showed the most significant change and reached the level of alkalinity it was supposed to reach. And alkalinity is important because it also shows and represents the amount of vitamins and minerals in the water. The pH results were similar to the alkalinity results because pH and alkalinity go hand in hand. The alkalinity and the pH determine whether or not the water is too acidic or too basic and has enough vitamins and minerals to become healthy drinking water. The color results, the same group with both the powders and the boiled water showed that the water reached a clear water color, which indicates that there were no abnormal amounts of bacteria or waste or pathogens in the water. The turbidity, the only group that reached a clean, clear drinking water standard was the one with both powders and the boiled water, because turbidity should always be at 0 because turbidity determines whether or not there are particles like pathogens or bacteria or small amounts of garbage in the water, which is something you don't want to ingest. The bacteria test results were not as definitive as the other test results. However, the groups that were boiled did show a significantly greater decrease in bacteria levels than the settled groups did. The rate of water quality change over time was also different between the boiled and settled groups. The boiled groups showed that they reached their goal between 24 and 48 hours, usually less than 48 hours, especially the group with both the powders and the boiled water. It reached its goal between 36 and 40 hours. And the groups that were settled either did not reach their goal at all, or it took longer than 48 hours to reach their drinking water standard goal. The group that tested boiled water along with both moringa seed powder and the orange peel powder showed the greatest decrease in pollutants at the most rapid rate. The water tested in this group reached drinkable water standard. Some limitations conducted in the study was that it was conducted in a controlled environment and the lack of natural factors could have had a slight effect on the results of the data collected. Pond water that was used was taken from a local source and it is not representative of all bodies of water. And this project was also conducted with small volumes of water, and the data would be needed to take in again with greater volumes of water to see if the data still holds true.
We hope you enjoyed watching our seniors present their work that they've worked so hard for over the past couple of years. We thank you all for your support of us as teachers, of your children in their research, and we wish them all the best in the years to come. Thank you.